There's a black kid sitting in the pilot lounge. Alone. Probably up to something. Her voice was sharp, clipped, and suspicious. Like she had just spotted a snake under her seat. I was the black kid. Sitting quietly. Watching a documentary on commercial aviation. Waiting. And that's when she walked in. For golden stripes on her shoulders, a smirk on her face, and a whole lot of assumption behind her eyes. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. My name is Malcolm Carter. And that day, I wore something I had dreamed about since I was a child. A Horizon Youth Aviation Program badge. Shiny, official, earned, not gifted, not handed down. Earned. I beat out over 300 students in an essay contest. To get here, wrote about the time I used to sit by the Newark runway with my dad, watching 747s take off like giants, roaring toward the sun. Wrote about the planes I could identify just by the sound of their engines. Wrote about how I'd built my own DIY cockpit simulator out of scrap plastic and a secondhand joystick. Every word came from my gut. And now here I was. I in the lounge reserved for pilots, not causing trouble, not wandering, just waiting for Ms. Granger from HR to come back from her call. But none of that mattered when Captain Deborah Whitlow walked in. She looked at me like I was a fire hazard, like I might blow the place up by breathing. "Who let you in here?" she barked. I stood up slow. Kept my voice steady like my father taught me. Hands at my side, shoulders back. "Ma'am," I said, "I'm part of the youth aviation program." Ms. Granger walked me in and said I could wait here until— "I don't care what anyone told you," she snapped. Just like that. She didn't ask my name. Didn't glance at my badge. Didn't call for clarification. She went straight to her radio and said it like I was a threat. "Security to the pilot lounge. I have a teenage male. Unverified credentials. Unauthorized presence." I felt a cold wave roll over me. My throat tightened, but I stayed calm. I pointed to the badge still hanging on my lanyard. "This is real. It's got the Horizon seal, my name, picture, snatch." She grabbed it right off my neck like it was a fake ID at a nightclub. The lanyard string snapped with a pop that echoed too loud in that quiet room. She flipped the badge over, then smirked. "Looks printed. I've seen better fakes at the food court." Her voice was loud on purpose. Pilots and staff walking by turned their heads. A couple even stopped, and suddenly I wasn't a student, I was a suspect. I stood there with my hands open, trying not to shake. Every second felt like a spotlight. Every pair of eyes felt like a camera lens zooming in on me. "I'm just here to learn," I whispered. "That's all I've ever wanted. To fly." But she wasn't hearing any of it. Captain Whitlow stepped back, folded her arms, and declared loud enough for the hallway. "We've got a potential breach of protocol. Unauthorized individual with fabricated identification in a secured pilot zone." The walls felt closer. The air got thicker. And the worst part, I saw someone pull out their phone to record. Not to help, just to watch. Then the door opened again, this time with two security officers, tall, serious, wearing that look like they'd just been told there was a bomb threat. One of them stepped forward. "Sir, we need you to come with us and verify your identity." "I didn't do anything wrong," I said, trying hard not to sound like I was begging. "Ms. Granger from HR, sir," he cut in. "You can explain outside the lounge." Outside. Asn, away from all these people staring. Asn, away from proof. Asn, back to where people like me are supposed to be. I reached into my pocket for my phone. "My dad's name is Harold Carter. He works with the FAA. I just need to call." "Go ahead," Captain Whitlow interrupted with a roll of her eyes. "Maybe he can come mop the floor while you wait. Terminal B's hiring." That did it. Not just to me, but to everyone in earshot. Even the security guards shifted uncomfortably, but still, no one said anything. To N01 corrected her. N01 defended me. Not one voice said, "Let's wait. Let's hear the kid out." So I stood there, clutching my phone like a life vest, waiting for my dad to pick up. The ring rang once, then twice, then again. My heart was racing, my breathing shallow. That badge on the floor, that was more than plastic. It was years of effort. Early mornings. Simulators, practice, books, essays. It was mine. And now it was lying there like trash, because one woman didn't like how I looked sitting alone in a nice chair. Someone else entered the lounge. A younger pilot in uniform. She looked at me, then at Captain Whitlow, then back at me. She didn't say anything either, just walked past. And in that moment, I realized something. Silence is the loudest answer. The air was tight. You could feel it press against your skin, that silence after a threat's been made. Not loud, but heavy. That's what I stood in, hands at my side, shoulders locked. The two security guards didn't touch me. Not yet. But they closed in. Point one stood between me and the hallway. The other looked down at my name badge, still crumpled in Captain Whitlow's fist. Name? Malcolm Carter. You got any other ID on you? No, just this one. I'm 16. That answer made one of them raise an eyebrow. Point 16. In the pilot lounge, alone? I could see the suspicion curling behind his eyes. And how'd you get this badge again? I breathed in, kept my voice clear. Firm. Truthful. I earned it through the Horizon Aviation Youth Program. I wrote the essay. I passed the interviews. Ms. Granger walked me in herself. She had to take a call. She told me to wait right here. Captain Whitlow laughed, that bitter kind of laugh that says, "You've got to be kidding me." The lengths these kids go to these days. Just say you snuck in and save us all the trouble. I turned toward her. I didn't sneak in. You're sitting in a space reserved for active, licensed flight personnel. And I was invited. I shot back. By your HR rep, who works for your airline. I didn't mean to raise my voice, but it came out like thunder. The room tilted. Not literally, but in the way people started to shift, now unsure of whose side to lean on. That's when I heard the click. Someone had just started recording on their phone. They weren't helping. They weren't stopping it, but they were recording, like I was a fight about to break out, like this was content, not consequence. Ma'am, said one guard, clearly uncomfortable now. Should we page Ms. Granger? Whitlow stiffened. No. What we should do is escort him out. Then verify later. That was her solution. Remove first. Ask questions never. I clenched my jaw.my heart raced. But my face stayed still. My hands curled. But my feet didn't move. Inside, I was burning. Outside, I looked like marble. Then I did what scared kids do when they're trying not to panic. I called my father again. It rang and rang. And then, Malcolm? You okay? His voice, steady, deep, calm. The kind of voice that puts weight back in your knees when the floor's been snatched from beneath you. Dad, I whispered, stepping to the side. They think I faked my ID. They're calling security. The captain says I don't belong here. She took my badge. She said you might be. I'm on my way. No hesitation, no confusion. Just, I'm on my way. I held on to that sentence like it was a rope thrown from a lifeboat. But Captain Whitlow wasn't done. She overheard the call. Walked up, arms crossed. Daddy's coming? What's he gonna do? Sweep the floors faster? She smiled, cruel and small, like she thought that was clever. A few people chuckled. Quietly, nervously. Point one of the guards grimaced. The other one looked down at his shoes. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't trust my voice not to crack. Point 10 minutes passed. Point 15. Point 20. People kept walking past. Some stayed. Some stared. My presence was no longer a curiosity. It was an open scandal in the hallway. And Captain Whitlow loved every minute of it. You really should have left when I asked you to, she said. Now you're making it worse for yourself. I looked up, finally met her eyes. She didn't blink. You don't know me, I said. You didn't even ask. I didn't need to. That reply cut deeper than anything she'd said before. She didn't need to, because she'd already decided my skin, my youth, my stillness in a space she didn't expect me to occupy. That was all she needed to see. And then, the radio on the guard's shoulder crackled to life. Be advised. VIP approaching pilot lounge. FAA confirmation authorized. Repeat. FAA official en route. The whole room froze. Even Captain Whitlow's expression cracked. Just a little. Her smirk twitched. Her arms loosened. FAA, she said. What, like flight assistance? The guard looked at her and said quietly, Administrator level. That's when her face changed. Not panic. Not yet. Just recalculating. I didn't say a word. All I did was straighten my back, roll my shoulders, and wait, because I knew what was coming. I'd heard it in my father's voice. He wasn't just showing up, that he was arriving. The hallway was still. Then, footsteps. Heavy, decisive. You could hear them before you saw him. My heart thumped once, then again. And then he stepped into view. My father. Not in a janitor's uniform. Not in khakis and a name tag, but in a dark blue FAA blazer. Badge shining. Shoulders squared. Behind him, 2 FAA compliance officers and a rep from the airline board. The room didn't just fall silent. It froze. Like someone hit pause on the entire airport. Captain Whitlow blinked. Her mouth opened slightly. Recognition hit her like a headwind. Administrator Carter? Her voice cracked on the title. She hadn't known. She thought he was just another working-class black man. She assumed that my father didn't answer right away, that he walked past her, past the stairs, straight to me, placed one firm hand on my shoulder. Looked me in the eyes. You okay? That's all he asked. But that sentence said more than 1,000 speeches ever could. I nodded. Barely. But he saw it. Felt the pain under my skin. Knew the storm I'd been standing in. Then, and only then, he turned. His voice was calm, but it carried. I've been briefed. My son, Malcolm Carter, was accused of using false identification and entering a secure lounge without permission. This is false. You could hear people shift, clearing their throats, pretending to be invisible. Security footage shows him being escorted by your own HR representative. His ID is verified. He followed every rule. And yet, he was detained, humiliated, labeled a threat. He turned his eyes on Captain Whitlow. Why? Whitlow stuttered. Sir, I didn't know he was your son. I thought. He cut her off. Would it have made a difference if he wasn't? Silence. No answer. Because everyone already knew that my father's voice sharpened. The real threat here today wasn't a young black student in a lounge. The threat was your bias. Your assumptions. He pointed directly at her badge. You carry the weight of responsibility, Captain. And today, you failed that responsibility. You could feel the tension shift, like air being sucked out the room. Pilots who had once looked at me with suspicion now turned their eyes away from her. The security guards stood straighter, realizing just how far they'd been pulled into something rotten. This is not the first time, said one of the FAA officers, stepping forward. There have been prior complaints against Captain Whitlow involving discriminatory behavior. Gasps. Now that got the crowd whispering. She froze, hands trembling, color drained from her face. They rolled the footage. Right there, in front of everyone. Me. Sitting quietly, watching TV. Then Whitlow, storming in, snatching my badge, calling security, clear, undeniable, and then, effective immediately, my father said, Captain Whitlow is suspended from all flight duties pending investigation. FAA compliance officers will escort her from this facility. Two men in suits stepped forward. Whitlow finally spoke. Please, Administrator Carter, I didn't mean, he just didn't look like. She stopped, realizing that she'd said too much already. They took her by the arms. She didn't resist. She walked out with her head low, drowned in the silence of her own downfall. That should have felt like victory, but it didn't. It felt like clarity. Because that kind of prejudice doesn't disappear with one firing. It lingers in hallways. It whispers in policies. It echoes in every kid who's ever been told. Not here. But my father? He wasn't done. Let this be known, he said to the gathered pilots, staff, and bystanders. This industry cannot survive if it only trusts one kind of person. If a child with dreams is seen as a threat because of how he looks, then our skies are not free. They're gated. That ends today. He looked down at me. You still want to fly? I didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. Then come with me. We walked across the terminal. Every step felt like a reclaiming that no longer surrounded by suspicion, now surrounded by respect, by acknowledgement, by truth. That we stopped beside a woman in uniform. Captain Denise Harper Point, one of the highest-ranking black female pilots in the country. She smiled as she held out her hand. Malcolm, would you like to see the cockpit? I stared at her for a second, then nodded. She turned, opened the aircraft door, and led me inside. I stepped forward. One step, then another, and when I sat in that seat, surrounded by panels, screens, switches, I knew this was mine. That day didn't break me. It introduced me to the skies, to the truth, to the fight still left to win. And I swear, I'll fly so high they'll never forget my name. Thank you for being here. If this story moved you, even a little, leave a comment, share it with someone, and don't forget to subscribe. Dignity deserves to be heard. Until next time.